The Wheel of Time is full of prophecies, and this video is looking at the top 5 prophets in the Wheel of Time. I'm going to rank them from 5th to 1st. I'm going to tell you why they are so awesome. The way we're going to rank them is in terms of the impact of their foretellings. So the most powerful foretelling will win this ranking battle. And this is mainly about the book series and does contain spoilers. We want to know what you think, so let us know in the comments if you disagree with anything we say today.
So in at number 5 is Min. She's the most popular and best known prophet in the series. Not only is she best known, she's many people's favorite. I mean, in the TV series, she's a cool cat. You know, Kay Alexander, brilliant character, gets on so well with Matt. Basically, nothing anyone can do changes anything. That said, she's in at number 5 because she doesn't really change the course of history in the way some of our other prophets do. But we don't know. We do like her. She's great. There's an example of her giving a foretelling to Perrin. To Perrin, she says that he must stay by Rand, otherwise that's going to spell doom. But Perrin already kind of knew that anyway. And if Perrin didn't go away from Rand, you wouldn't have half the kind of story anyway. So, her impact is slightly minimized.
Okay, number 4, Elida.
I say Elida.
Elida, okay, let's go. So she's actually probably one of the most hated characters in the series. I bloody hate her. However, unlike Min, she actually acts on her prophecies and she actually makes things happen. For example, she had a foretelling about the royal line of Andor, so she then goes and attaches herself to Morgaze and her family to actually proactively get involved in it. So she properly acts on her prophecies. She also becomes the Amarin seat and has a few foretelling while she's there. So all of her actions are quite impactful to the world. However, she's a bit of a dick and she actually gets everything wrong. She's one of those classic fantasy tropes where she misinterprets the prophecies and actually acts to make her life worse and the world's life worse from what she's foretold. Quick example foretelling which she gives to Rand about the Black Tower. She says, "The White Tower will be whole again, except for remnants cast out and scorned, whole and stronger than ever. Randolph Thor will face the Amaran seat and know her anger. The Black Tower will be rent in blood and fire, and sisters will walk its grounds. This I foretell." So Elida at this point sees this prophecy of meaning that she's going to be in control of Rand, she's going to be in control of the Black Tower. But actually, if you look at what she says, sisters will walk its grounds. And what we know that means, having read the books, is that they will become almost slaves to the Black Tower. And actually, the Amaran seat who shows anger to Randolph is actually Egwene, not Elida. So she definitely misread that one. So Elida's in at number 4, more important than Min, but a bit of a date.
Okay, in number 3, we have maybe a bit of a surprise for you in that this wasn't a character that jumped straight to my mind, first of all, but we're going to put him in. The prophecy is the Dragon Test, which is a foretelling passed down through the line of kings and queens of Arafel from Rio Miyoshi. "I see him before you, him, the one who lives many lives, the one who gives deaths, the one who raises mountains. He will break what he must break. But first he stands here before our king. You will bloody him. Measure his restraint. He sticks. How was the fallen slain? Telendal Tarasso, murdered by his hand. The darkness that came the day after the light. You must ask, and you must know your fate. If he cannot answer, you will be lost. You will bring his end swiftly, so that the final days may have their storm, so that the light may not be consumed by he who was to have preserved it. I see him, and I weep." So that rather epic prophecy is handed down, as I said, through the royal line of Arafel. We see 4 borderland monarchs marching to the kind of camping Brainwood for a bit, and Farmadding, I think is where they meet him, but on the way they're kind of down at Brainwood. But they're supposed to confront Rand, they're supposed to bloody him, and they're supposed to test his restraint. And that's kind of the risk that these Borderlanders are willing to take. They're quite hardy, aren't they, all of them? They ask him a question that only Louis Theron could possibly know. If he answers correctly, the Borderlands will follow him to the last battle. If he answers incorrectly, we heard from that quote there, they have to kill him as quickly as they possibly can.
The most powerful channel of ever have lived.
But they've got armies, and there's 4 of them, so they're going to have a go. And they're Borderlands. Just proper Borderlander shit, in summary. Yeah.
Amazing. Number 2. Deandre. Anyway, do you remember in The Shadow Rising that there's this really old Aes Sedai that Rand runs into in his first vision in the Trial of Viridian? She's called Deandre, and she actually gives 2 prophecies. So as Rand steps through all of the different visions, when he gets to the last vision, there's a really young Aes Sedai, DeAndre as well, having conversations, and there's the Semeshtos, the green man sitting there, chilling out next to them as well. So just after the bore has been drilled, so she gives her first prophecy then, so all the way at the end of Rand's visions as he'd gone through, and she says, what'd she say? She says the Dai Shan, which is the Aeol, will have a part to play, although she can't see what. And from this vision, she then sends out all of the Dai Shan to go and take all the tree and the kind of
Chora cuttings or the offender
Chora cuttings, that's right, and the Abender saw, and all the angry elves, they get sent to take them. And then much later, hundreds of years, 300 or 400 years later, she's then the final vision, or the first vision that Rand sees, where she then says, no, that one will come later. The stone that never falls will fall to announce his coming, of the blood, but not raised by the blood. He will come from Radiant at dawn and tie you together with bonds you cannot break. He will take you back and he will destroy you. So that's her second prophecy. And that's the prophecy that then sends the Aeol off to become ready for when Rand comes and tells them the signs they need to look for. So it's pretty cool. So the impact is absolutely massive. So she sends all the Daishan out to become Aeol, and then all those things happen where some of them go off to become Tinkers, some of them go off to become, Aeol. And then she actually then sets up that group of people to be ready for Rand when he comes. So impact's very high on the list. It literally shakes the fortunes of millions of people and literally paves the way for Rand to come along and sweep the Aeol up in his path.
Amazing. So that's number 2. Ollie's also going to do number 1, but we got some honourable mentions, or less honourable ones as well. And the first being Nicola Treehill, who we meet in Saladada, and she can make Quendiar. She's pretty cool. But at the same time, she's trying to work her way up the Aes Sedai career ladder far too quickly. She's powerful, but she needs to know her place a little bit. And Egwene and co kind of help to put her there. I think there's a bit of betrayal on Nicola's part. She gives her away. She gives her away. Yeah, so Eli is able to capture Egwene. And yeah, actually, people, perhaps because of the way she operated, don't really believe her prophecies, so her impact on the story's fairly limited. We've got Lydia, a Damani, who's owned by Tuon, great character. And she foretells that Matt and Tuon will get together, but with Matt's kind of absolute charm and what a cool character he is, that he and Tuon are gonna really be there at the last, and they are gonna make waves and save the world, basically. And then we have a less honourable mention of the only prophet who actually calls himself a prophet, Messina. Basically, he's a jumped up borderland guard who comes down and causes a lot of havoc with some kind of very scatty people with pitchforks and stuff like that.
He's mental, but he is not a prophet.
He's not really a prophet.
Great, so let's move on to the number 1 prophet. Have you guessed who it is? Can you imagine what it must be like to see the future? And can you imagine seeing that future and knowing that you needed to ruin the lives of some young people to make it happen? And can you imagine that after doing all of this, after more than 300 years of life, at the moment of the birth of the dragon reborn on the slopes of Dragonmount, after being almost solely responsible for him being born, you die? I am, of course, talking about Gitara Moroso of the Blue Argyle. Gitara Moroso was modest in the One Power. However, she was one of the most powerful seers to ever have lived in the book series. Her actions were truly immense in Third Age. She became the advisor to the Lion Throne. The queen was called Mordrellin Mantir. So much in the same way that Leda was the advisor to Morghese, she did that sort of 30 years before. Now, this queen had 2 children, Luke and Tigraine. Tigraine was the daughter heir, like Elaine is in the main story, and Luke was her first sword, was her brother, her first sword. Gitara's first action was to influence Luke to go off into the Blight to seek glory. Luke then meets up with a guy called Isom, and they kind of merge weirdly and become Slayer, who is a huge character in the books. So Gitara's first action is to go and create this huge antagonist of the story. And her next action is then to influence Tigraine, Luke's sister, to go off and leave Andor and go and live with the Aeol in the Waste. Tigraine, as I'm sure you know, is Rand's actual mother. She's also Galad's mother as well. And so Galad and Rand are half brothers, and I actually really enjoyed recently reading The Eye of the World, where they meet and they've no idea. This was such a big impact for Tigraine because she had just given birth to Galad, And then she get whispered in the ear by this Aes Sedai. She goes off and leaves Andor. So huge impact. Without Katara's actions and without the ruining of these two young people's lives, we would not have Rand al-Thor, and the Dark One would win. And then finally, at the moment of Rand's birth, on the slopes of Dragonmount, Katara shouts the following: "He is born again. I feel him. The dragon takes his first breath on the slopes of Dragonmount. He is coming. He is coming. Light help us. Light help the world. He lies in the snow and cries like the thunder. He burns like the sun." And then she dies. Bit of a badass way to go out. In this moment, Moraine and Shuar, who had just at this point accepted in the Aes Sedai world, they're sent off to find and prepare the world for the Dragon Reborn. And I love the parallels actually between Moraine and Shuar, with Elaine and Nynaeve being sent off and Egwene being sent off to go and do Shuar's bidding. So she repeats that job that she did. Very dangerous mission. And the only other person to hear this foretelling was the then Arryn Seat. And she was tortured to death by the black-eyed Arger very soon after. But she never gave up Shuar, and she never gave up Moraine. So absolutely amazing prophet. Huge impact. Wasn't a very nice person, and some things she did to some of those people were pretty terrible. But that's our number one.
Amazing. I hope you agree with us and see why we think Katara Roriso is the number one badass prophecy in the entire book series. Obviously, if you've got a different opinion, feel free to comment below. Have we missed anyone? Let us know, and we'll see you on the next one.